just going to have a look at this article that appeared in the Telegraph on the 30th of October 2011, and it's about this world's most powerful laser to tear apart the vacuum of space. A laser powerful enough to tear apart the fabric of space could be built in Britain as part of a major new scientific project that aims to answer some of the most fundamental questions about our universe. So, due to follow in the footsteps of the Large Hadron Collider, the latest big science experiment being proposed by physicists will see the world's most powerful laser being constructed. Capable of producing a beam of light so intense that it would be equivalent to the power received by the Earth from the Sun, focused onto a speck smaller than a tip of a pin, scientists claim it could allow them to boil the very fabric of space, the vacuum. They also believe, it would allow them to reveal these particles for the first time by pulling this vacuum fabric apart. They also believe it could even allow them to prove whether extra dimensions exist. At the focal point, the intensity of light will produce conditions that are so extreme they do not exist even in the centre of our Sun. It will cause the mysterious particles of matter and antimatter thought to make up a vacuum to be pulled apart, allowing scientists to detect the tiny electrical charges they produce. These ghost particles, as they are known, normally annihilate one another as soon as they appear, but by using the laser to pull them apart, physicists believe they will be able to detect them. It could help to explain the mystery of why the universe contains far more matter than we have been able to detect by revealing what so-called dark matter really is. So there you go, okay? They want to solve the mysteries of the universe and discover whether there are any hidden new dimensions. So that was October the 30th. March the 11th, 2011, there were 3 nuclear melt-throws going on, beginning, okay? 2 fuel pools had blown up, scattered tons of MOX plutonium all over Japan into the atmosphere by way of a dirty bomb and into the Pacific Ocean. Tons of the stuff, okay? Remember, a pound of plutonium dust evenly spread across the planet would kill every living creature on the planet, okay? So, bear that in mind when you're thinking about tons of MOX plutonium, which is like regular plutonium times 4, or is it 10 or 40? I don't know, but it's basically magnified. You're talking like concentrated plutonium. So where are they at today? 8 years later, how far have they got towards cleaning up Fukushima? Well, this is from February 2019. They've managed to get a robot down there that squeezes suspected nuclear fuel debris in Fukushima reactor. A robot outfitted with remotely controlled pinchers poked at debris that's suspected to contain molten nuclear fuel at the bottom of one of Fukushima's nuclear reactors. The poking and prodding is part of the ongoing clean-up effort at Japan's Fukushima Daiichi power plant, the site of a major nuclear accident in 2011. The dexterous robot was dangled into the Unit 2 reactor on February 13th, according to a news release from the plant's operator, Tokyo Electric Power Company. Unit 2 is one of the reactors at the Fukushima Daiichi power plant that overheated after a massive earthquake and tsunami hit Japan in 2011. TEPCO suspects that radioactive fuel may have melted through the bottom of the reactor vessel to fall into the containment structure surrounding it. So they've been sending a series of robots to scout out the reactors. It is dangerous. It is a dangerous journey. Some of the robots haven't survived. In January 2017, the TEPCO team sent a robot in to investigate Unit 2. It sent back pictures of rocky chunks at the bottom of the reactor, but the team didn't know how these deposits fell. Were they solid enough to be picked up and removed, for example, or would they crumble at a touch? A robot that scooted into the reactor on tank-like treads got stuck in February 2017, so the company decided to try again this week. So 2 years later, 2 years later, they decided to try again. It sent in a robot about the size of a hefty loaf of bread, a foot long, 4 inches wide, and little more than 2 pounds in weight. It's equipped with lights, cameras and sensors that can measure temperature and radiation, and most importantly, it sports tongue-like fingers that can pinch and prod the debris. So that is where we're at right now. Okay. Basically, we're at poking and prodding. With one robot, they've managed to get in one of the reactors to poke and prod at a suspected piece of debris. That's it. So what has been happening in the years leading up to this 8th anniversary? Well, here we go. This is from November 2018. The ocean is dying. Marine and animal life die-offs. California coast. Now, they are trying to claim that this die-off has been an ongoing thing for the last how many decades, okay? But I'll tell you something. They're lying. Because they might have been the odd species, but we're talking about all the species here. We're talking about the birds, we're talking about the fish, we're talking about starfish, crustaceous life. It is going. It is going. And they're trying to blame it on global warming. You know, warmer waters. Warmer waters are killing everything off. Well, what is causing these warmer waters? Is it fissioning nuclear particles that are being released into the Pacific Ocean at an unprecedented rate? You know, the equivalent of an atomic bomb of the 1950s every single day. And we can't forget all the atomic testing that's been done in the Pacific Ocean as well already, that has probably contributed to these mass die-offs over the decades. You know, when you see how many nuclear tests have been done in the Pacific Ocean, I tell you now, it's not surprising that there's been mass die-offs, but with this amount of material that's been dumped in, this is unprecedented. So, you know, over the last 3 years, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, has noticed a growing number of strandings on the beaches of California and up into the Pacific Northwest. In 2013, 1,171 sea lions were stranded. They're the ones that actually made it to shore, okay? And 2,700 have already been stranded in 2015. So look, it's doubled in a couple of years. A sign that something is seriously wrong, as pups don't normally wind up on their own until later in the spring and early summer. Well, probably the parents are dead, innit? An unusually large number of sea lions stranding in 2013 was a red flag. There was a food availability problem even before the ocean got warm. This has never happened before. It's incredible. It's so unusual, and there's really no good explanation for it. There's also a good chance that the problem will continue, said a NOAA research scientist in climatology. Really, there's no explanation for it. So it's got nothing to do with 3 nuclear melt-throughs going on at Fukushima, with all of it spreading into the Pacific Ocean. Experts blame a lack of food due to unusually warm waters. Well, these scientists have already explained that there was a red flag before there was a food problem, before the before the ocean got warm. We know that these nuclear particles, when they're in the sea, each particle is literally magnified by the water. It contaminates everything. You know, people don't understand the way nuclear particles work. And that is a problem, and that is why they're getting away with this. Because people just can't get their heads around it. Because you can't see it, you can't smell it, you can't touch it. But it's there. And when it's in the water, it's magnified. Each particle is magnified. Because it contaminates the whole of that, all the water around it. Experts blame a lack of food due to unusually warm ocean waters. Yeah, fissioning nuclear material. NOAA declared an El Nino, the weather pattern that warms the Pacific, a few weeks ago. The water is 3.5 to 6 degrees warmer than the average, according to Mantua, because of a lack of north wind on the west coast. Ordinarily, the north wind drives the current, creating upwelling that brings forth the nutrients that feed the sardines, anchovies, and other fish that adult sea lions feed on. Well, you know, plankton forms the basic food chain, and this radioactive material is killing plankton, so, you know. These animals are coming in really desperate. They're at the end of their life. They're in crisis. The same is true of seabirds on the Washington state coast. In the storm, debris littering a Washington state shoreline. Bonnie Wood saw something grisly. The mangled bodies of dozens of scraggly young seabirds. Walking half a mile along the beach at Twin Harbours State Park on Wednesday, Wood spotted more than 130 carcasses of juvenile Cassins auklets, the blue-footed palm-sized victims of what is becoming one of the largest mass die-offs of seabirds ever recorded. It was so distressing, recalled Wood, a volunteer who patrols Pacific Northwest beaches looking for dead or stranded birds. They were just everywhere. Every 10 yards we'd find another 10 bodies of these sweet little things. This is just massive, massive, unprecedented, said Julia Parrish, a University of Washington seabird ecologist who oversees the Coastal Observation and Seabird Survey Team Coast, a programme that has tracked West Coast seabird deaths for almost 20 years. We may be talking about 50,000 to 100,000 deaths so far. 100,000 doesn't necessarily sound large, statistically speaking, but precedent in the history of recorded animal deaths suggests that it is, in fact, massive. Even National Geographic is noting that these die-off events are unprecedented. Warmer water is indicated for much of the starvation faced by many. You know, again, they're blaming it on climate change, aren't they? But nothing at all about Fukushima. Last year, scientists sounded alarm over the death of millions of starfish, blamed on warmer waters and mystery virus. Mystery virus, you see. Not nuclear radiation. Starfish are dying by the millions up and down the west coast, leading scientists to warn of the possibility of localised extinction of some species as the disease spreads. Researchers may be zeroing in on a link between warming waters and the rising starfish body. Again, global warming, they're blaming it all on global warming. Commercial fishing for sardines off Canada's west coast. Oh, suddenly they're gone. They're gone. Came back without a single fish. It was a shock when we couldn't find even one of the shiny blue silver coastal fish all summer. So, you know, they are saying that some of it might be caused by Fukushima. They're saying some of it might be caused by Fukushima, but they're, you know, also talking about fertilisers and pollutants. And it's true, there's all kinds of stuff But you know, it's unlikely to have been caused by Prozac in the water, is it? Because they are trying to play this down. So then we've got 2015, much of the Pacific Ocean threatened by Fukushima releases, an area covering 1/3 of the globe. IAEA begins testing. Well, you know, you can't trust those as far as you can throw them. But there you go. Fukushima nuclear disaster, lethal levels of radiation detected in leaks 7 years after plant meltdown in Japan. This was February 2018. Expert warns of global consequences unless the plant is treated properly. I think he means promptly, but that isn't going to happen, is it? It's just absolutely outrageous. So, look, the high readings from fuel debris would be expected. The higher reading from the foundations, if confirmed, would be more of a concern, as the cause is at present unclear. What? We know what the cause is, don't we? Because if it's at the foundations, it means that the nuclear fuel has actually gone right through the reactors. It is not anywhere near contained. It's outside completely of even the containment vessel the reactors are in. But as officials indicate, it might not be a genuine reading anyway. Yeah, like they were telling us all, it was, you know, failing to tell us that we were dealing with a level 7 event right from the start because they didn't want to alarm people. So obviously they're still on that treadmill, aren't they, with their lies, because they don't want to alarm people. So here we go. This was in 2018. Japan is poised to flood the Pacific with 1 million tonnes of radioactive water contaminated by the Fukushima nuclear plant. Okay. Well, they've been flooding the Pacific Ocean with millions of tonnes of this radioactive water every single day because it's leaking out of the plant from the foundations into the ocean every single day anyway. So all this stuff, you know, that they're trying to store this water in these containers is absolute. This is just for show. You know, we're talking about a global corporation here, corporate capitalism. This is what you get from it: a pack of lies and total incompetence. Total incompetence. These tanks are, are leaking radiation. I mean, even just walking near them, you're going to get irradiated. So officials have struggled to come to an agreement on what should be done with the waste. Well, what are you going to do? Are you going to keep it in these tanks? How long are these tanks going to hold out? Are they crazy? Are they crazy? Space for tanks has been expanded by clearing forest and debris, leaving around 230,000 square metres. But there is now almost none left. I mean, these tanks are all leaking. And they're saying it's got tritium in it. Come on, please, please. Now this is a very interesting video from Kevin Blanche, who himself is a leukemia survivor, and he's been covering this from the start and expressing his outrage. And this lady here is sharing some new data that really you need to watch. You know, I'm not going to show you the video, I'll leave you the link underneath, but this is showing data right from the start when this happened and how it impacted the coast of California. So when you understand how it's impacted California, you do get a bit more of an understanding of how it's directly impacted the Pacific Ocean. Okay, because this stuff actually went in the Pacific Ocean. It's been running through the plant into the Pacific Ocean every single day for 8 years. So this is a really good article, an ongoing blog, and it's, I'll leave you the link to it. Every year since 2011, at this time of the year when the anniversary of the Fukushima nuclear disaster comes, I feel angry, tired and depressed. Because it is really, really, it is depressing. It's sad. It's sad because it just didn't need to happen, did it? Time passing by when it is not hot news anymore, it becomes cold news. People kind of forget about it. They only remember it again just when its anniversary comes. But for the people on location in Fukushima, every day is a Fukushima anniversary. They had to live with it. And it is for me, I've got to admit, every day, there is rarely a day goes by that I am not aware of this, of what is going on. An American anti-nuclear friend of mine recently talked about the coming Fukushima nuclear disaster anniversary, employed the word occurred. Occurred in the past tense. I immediately reacted. English is not my mother tongue, but I pointed out to her that it was wrong for her to use the verb occur in its past tense. That it would be more correct to use the words started, because the Fukushima nuclear disaster started on March the 11th, 2011, and since then it is still now ongoing, unsolved. See, it'll still be hot for decades and even more for a very long time, as the technology to stop the fusion of a meltdown corium does not exist, has not yet been invented, even those specially made expensive robots cannot handle it, getting rapidly fried after a few hours or a couple of days. And, you know, I've just shown you, that's where they're at, a robot squeezing some debris suspected to be nuclear fuel. The government, nuclear lobby, TEPCO, all claiming the situation is now under control. The solutions are being worked out gradually to dismantling the whole thing, all part of a massive campaign of disinformation, downplaying the real situation in the mind of the general public. What also makes me angry is that most of the year the media are not really covering anymore the Fukushima disaster. But at the time of Fukushima disaster's anniversary, they're suddenly in a frenzy, each one to publish one article about it. These articles just repeating over and over again the same spiel spread over the years by TEPCO, a well-oiled spiel orchestrated by Dentsu and TEPCO's public relations company, and Dentsu, the TEPCO's public relations company, and Ethos, the nuclear lobby's public relations organisation, working together to downplay the disaster situation in the mind of the general public and to soothe the fears of the victimised population on location, so as to make them stay and live with radiation in the affected zones. No damage control of the meltdown, but effective damage control of the mind of the public. So, you know, what did the Japanese government do to protect its people? Oh, it raised the radiation threshold from the international standard of 1 millisievert per year to 20 millisieverts per year, which is the threshold for the average nuclear power plant worker within a 5-year work period. So little children, pregnant women are being bombarded with 5 times more radiation than the average nuclear power plant worker would expect to receive in a year. Because you're talking 20 millisieverts within a 5-year work period. They're getting it every single year. This is it. It's really disgusting. It's really disgusting. And I'll leave you a video link that I made exposing the BBC and exactly what 20 millisieverts a year amounts to. You know, you're talking 200 chest x-rays. Okay, I actually contacted the NHS and said, would you recommend a pregnant woman has 200 chest x-rays a year? And they were absolutely shocked. No, of course we wouldn't. Of course we don't recommend one. Oh really? Well, perhaps you could explain to the BBC. Perhaps you could write to the BBC and explain to them that you wouldn't recommend that pregnant women receive 200 chest x-rays a year, because the BBC is telling pregnant women it's fine, go and live in Fukushima, go back there and be exposed to the equivalent of 200 chest x-rays a year while you're pregnant, while your baby's born, and you let your child grow up having the equivalent of 200 chest x-rays a year. Yeah, I tell you, these people, they are insane. So here's Dana. This is the topsoil that has been removed from certain areas where they're trying to get people to move back into. This stuff's full of plutonium. As I say, we know. This is a fact. They won't admit to it, but we know it's a fact because bits of plutonium rod were found over a mile away from the plant, okay? 2 fuel pools blew up in a huge dirty bomb, okay? And they've had to remove all this topsoil. It's all highly radioactive. What are they going to do with it? Well, at one point, they were taking it to another part of Japan and incinerating it. Well, that'd be alright if you could just incinerate nuclear particles, except no, you can't, because all you do is release the particles into the atmosphere. And, you know, some of the facts that Dana pulls up here, and I'll leave you the link to this. So my computer seems to be playing up a bit. I don't think I'm going to be able to get them up for you. So I'll just leave you the link. I'll leave you the links. And then there's also, this is my friend H. Thomas Ackermann. I thought I'd already got his video link up, but he often is often seen in his videos with his little nuclear radiation sign on, as to remind people that, look, we are living in a nuclear disaster at the moment. This nuclear disaster is ongoing, and he's coloured the triangles in red because, as he explains, yellow is a beautiful colour, and really red is more appropriate than yellow for nuclear. And he regularly wears this, and he's regularly made videos about what's going on at Fukushima. So I will leave you a link to his YouTube page here so you can look through his videos. He does have a lot of interesting things to say about life outside of what's happening at Fukushima as well. So, you know. So the upshot of it all, like I say, is that this is where we've reached. But probably by now, you know, they're getting pretty close to boiling the fabric of space. Okay? That is where we're at. They can boil the fabric of space, but they don't know how to deal with 3 nuclear melt-throughs. They're an older science project that they've obviously grown bored with. I mean, it makes you wonder, are they trying to find these other dimensions? Do they hope to be able to escape into these other dimensions from the absolute hell that they'd created on our planet. I mean, you know, to me, I'm sorry, let's call them for what they are. Witches. They're witches. That's what they are. They're witches. They're messing about with things they do not understand. They are, when we think of all those innocent, mostly women, but men as well, of the, 1600s, 1700s, who were persecuted and tortured and literally burnt at the stake, suffered terrible deaths for being judged as a witch, that would be able to, hurt all of humanity, destroy our fertility, kill a baby in the womb, destroy our crops, poison our water, rain down fire and pestilence from above, okay, spread a disease among people. What are they? That is what they are. They are witches, aren't they? These people who took the power, stamped on the power of the matriarch, upholding the patriarchy, stamped down on the people, stamped down on the woman. No, God is Lucifer. God is Lucifer. The law is might equals right to do as thy will. You're a weak woman. Shut your mouth. You're going to do what we tell you. If we want to create a nuclear bomb, we will. If we need nuclear reactors, then you will use it to run your washing machine and kettle off that we're going to provide you with. And we will make our nuclear bombs out of them. But what have we achieved with all these nuclear weapons? Oh, apparently, global peace. Really? There's never been so many wars. There's never been so many people dying through these wars. I tell you, these people, they are mad. You're talking about a mad consciousness. This isn't a true male consciousness. This is an oligarchical consciousness in a male body. Literally a demon controlling humanity. Dictating. What should we do next? Let's boil space so we can solve the mystery of space. Really, why haven't you solved the mystery of how to of where the fucking nuclear fuel is at Fukushima Daiichi's 3 nuclear reactors? So, apparently, they've got the skills to poke and prod. That is where we're at. They've just started. They've just created one robot to poke and prod a bit of suspected nuclear fuel. It was 2 years between one attempt and the next attempt, so I wonder how many years it will be before they get another robot down there to do a bit more poking and prodding. And meanwhile, all of this stuff is being leaking into the Pacific Ocean. And there are a lot of creatures that pass through the Pacific Ocean to migrate. Whales are literally starving. Bellies full of plastic. This is a terrible, terrible situation. It's a terrible situation. And, it is not good news. But, like I say, at least they know by now how to break apart quantum particles with the Hadron Collider, and it looks like they've got the ability to boil space, so it's happy anniversary, isn't it?